What's going on, everybody? This is Steve McClung. Hell broke loose. He's ill. He's got pneumonia. He feels like shit. Gonna talk to you a little bit about Trump. I think about that evil bastard every day. I'll be 60 years old next weekend. And the way I see my life, when I look back on it, born in 1957, I kind of lived through my formative years up to, let's say, 25 or 30. Was sort of like one of the golden eras. I gotta lean forward. My back's hurt too. Of America. Of course, there was problems. But, I was young. I read about Vietnam in the newspaper every day. I started delivering newspapers when I was 8 years old. Got special permission from the newspaper manager. And so I read, but I couldn't fully absorb what it was I was reading, the motives and all that. I didn't have any idea that the Catholic Church was behind every war waged on Vietnam, from France to Britain to the U.S. I didn't know that. There's a few people that knew, and they's called hippies. They knew. There's a slogan that goes around that said the hippies knew. Yeah, they did. But the hippies were also focused on good fucking music. And I was born a musician, so to me, that's what stood out about the hippie movement. Then, the way I saw Nixon at the time was just one rotten apple in the fucking bunch who did at least have the morality to step down on his own. He was just power hungry, greedy, gonna get his thing was he was gonna get in that office no matter what. No matter what. And it was, I believe it was his vice president or chief of staff, and that were so enamored with keeping the war going in Vietnam. Nixon more focused on stealing that election. Racism was still high, the civil rights was going on. But I lived in a small, isolated town, kind of freaky. The N-word, I don't think I ever heard it in high school. I don't. We was all friends. The only thing that separated us was geography. We each had our section of the town we lived in. But other than that, I really said, what's this civil rights shit all about? Because we all get along pretty fucking good here. But then I journeyed out into the world, and I saw the deal. But the main point of what I'm trying to say is, in history, and from my grandfather's stories, he was in World War I. He had a big influence in my upbringing. He taught me more than my father did. Evil was behind us. Pure evil. Because 57 wasn't that far off. That was only 13 years past the end of Hitler's reign. So, that ain't that long. The world was still shaking off the effects of Hitler. And Civil War is behind us. The last World War. What stands out in my mind as the most evil things that went on were the assassination of the Kennedys and Martin Luther King. And I didn't know, in the 60s, I didn't know the motivation for that like I do now. So maybe my idea of living in sort of a golden era is self-contrived. But I'll say for a fact, it wasn't nearly as evil. Not by a long stretch as what we live under now. I was thinking about a picture of Osama bin Laden that went around the internet for about a week or so after the SEAL team assassinated him. There was a picture of him with a bullet in his head. Well, I'm here to tell you folks that it's going to be 100 years before the world knows the measure of evil of bin Laden, or just been played like a puppet. We know a lot about him being played like a puppet. We know about Dick Cheney and Halliburton, the motivations for the war and all that. But think about this. When you compare the evil, the murder, the damage to the human race of Trump compared to bin Laden, bin Laden was a peace leader. He was up there with Martin Luther King compared to Trump. Hitler was the greatest evil in our rearview mirror when I was growing up. We got that same evil right now. That same evil, but it's going on in America, not Germany. And we have some hard laws that are slowing him down in accomplishing his purely wicked, evil goals. The puzzlement I have is how we ended up with an entire body of government too fucking evil to impeach that bastard. Yeah, back to that picture of bin Laden, everybody celebrated. Bullet in the head of a human being. And we were told of his evil deeds. We were told he was behind 9/11. We went and bombed Afghanistan and Iraq when 17 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi. But see, they were our ally. We was in oil bed with them, buddy. We couldn't be fucking with Saudi. No, so George Bush, Dick Cheney stood back and threw a dart at a board, and it landed on Iraq and Afghanistan. Each threw a dart, and they said, well, let's just bomb the fuck out of them. And Bush is responsible for between 800,000 to 1 million innocent deaths in Iraq alone. And backing up real fast for just a minute, the evil started with Reagan, but it trickled in. Like it's trickled down economics. It did exactly what they were designed to do, make us broke. They trickled in. But by the time it hit Bush, it was full-blown evil. Propaganda works for Bush better than it's ever worked for anybody in history, in my opinion. Hell, there was a lot of left-wing people all for bombing Iraq. That's how smooth and good the bullshit was. It was laid down, and that was scary. Looking back, that administration had the power to convince about 70% of America that we just needed to go use our whole arsenal of bombs now. They've been sitting there too long, so let's just bomb the fuck out of a country that didn't do a goddamn thing. And see, Saddam Hussein was W's father's #1 ally in the Middle East. Off and on. He was the U.S. ally off and on for about 20 years, Saddam Hussein was. And then we had that picture of him hanging. But Saddam Hussein wasn't doing anything to destroy the climate that's going to kill about 2 or 3 billion people. So his evil can't touch Trump's. Hitler's responsible, World War II, for about 70 million deaths That's all told. Soldiers, civilians, the Jews, the Polish, Russians, 70 million. 20 million are predicted to die this year from starvation, from climate crisis. So in 3.5 years, climate crisis is killing as many people as Hitler did in 4. Trump is pushing climate crisis to kill hundreds of millions of people. Conclusion, Trump is more evil than Hitler. And any one of you who support him, do not approach me without knowing you're taking a risk of your physical fucking health in your hand. You are a traitor to this goddamn country. You're a murderer of my granddaughter, and for that alone, you're going to get a goddamn beatdown for what you're supporting that's going to kill my granddaughter. Is that clear enough for you? Now, all you grandparents need to get enraged. This climate crisis is no fucking myth. The evidence is all around us. If you had the money and could fly over the world and stop here and there, you could see it yourself. Trump is including Mussolini, Constantine, all the evil that we've had combined, Trump tops them. Trump tops them. So, where's the right picture of someone getting lynched? Where is the right picture of someone with a bullet hole in their head? That's what I'm waiting on. And we will not be able to start climbing up out of this shithole until something similar, either that or something similar happens. If we get impeachment, we're going to be stuck with Pence, who is neck and neck with Trump on evil, except that I don't think that he's trigger happy with the football, the nuclear bomb suitcase. There's a lot of people, you see a poll says Trump's approval ratings are lower than any president's ever. There's still 38% of you sorry, in the ditch, shit-eating, inbred motherfuckers that approve of him. That's way too many. That's a third of the population of the country. That's 100 million supporters of a pure piece of fucking evil. It's not 100 million because I didn't account for kids and the old and infirm that don't know what's going on. But it's millions and millions and millions that still approve of his performance. We are in the time of evil of all our lifetimes. No disrespect at all to you World War II vets, because y'all saw firsthand what Trump wants. Firsthand. Y'all saw it on a smaller scale than what Trump wants, though. There's more and more alarm being raised that Trump's going to lead us into a worldwide nuclear war. 70 million deaths, that won't be shit. That'll be the equivalent of a car pileup in a snowstorm compared to what's going to happen to a World War III nuclear war. We've got the most evil person in the history of government in any country running our country, and we're still complacent. That's a problem. Complacency. The acceptance of evil, because Walmart, Target, hunting, and all that bullshit is just so much fucking fun. Yeah, hell broke loose. He snuck in there a little bit, didn't he? Later, y'all.